Okay, conic sections, circles. If we know if we have a conic section, we slice the circle horizontally. What do we have? We have a circle. So we're going to talk about that equation today. So the general equation for a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So if we have that as our general equation, what's our center? HK. And our radius is simply r. So let's look at an equation. If this is our first equation, what is the center? The center is going to be x minus h, so it's negative 2. Remember, that's x minus a negative 2. And then k is just 1. Okay, so that's just a 1 there. And r is going to be the square root of 25, so what is that? That is 5. Okay, so what is the center for number 2? Well, that's going to be 4x minus 4, and k is going to be negative 2. And our radius is going to be the square root of 9, which is 3. So once we have this information, we can graph our circle. So we start with the center, negative 2, 1, and we can only graph the 4 points on the axes, so we go 5 in each direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's at negative 2, 6, and 5 in this direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and now we're going to draw the best circle we can. So draw a nice curve between the points. And there you have your circle with your, draw r equals 5. Okay, all right, let's do it again. So we have a center of 4, negative 2. Still on the graph. 4, negative 2 with a radius of 3, so go 3 in every direction. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Draw the best we can. Let's see, we have a circle with radius equals 3. Okay, so let's go a little deeper into this. Now, remembering back to Algebra 1, if we are asked the question, the point 3, 4 lies on a circle whose center is 1, 2, and remember that's HK. Write the standard form of the equation of the circle. What are we going to do? Well, we know that the distance between a point and a center is r. That's the distance that we can use the distance formula to find the radius. Okay? Well, if we label HK as x2, y2, and we label this as x1, y1, we can just apply the distance formula. We'll do that. R equals the square root of negative 1 minus, so x2 minus x1 plus y2 minus y1. Well, we got to square both of them. R equals the square root, negative 1 minus 3 squared, that's negative 4 squared, plus 2 minus 4, that's negative 2 squared. So r equals the square root, what is 4 squared? That's going to be 16, plus negative 2 squared is 4. That's going to be the square root of 20, which is approximately, remember negative numbers when squared become positive, is approximately 4.5. Okay, and just leave it at the square root of 20, but just we want to know approximately how far that radius is. So now we have everything we need to write the standard form of the equation. We have x, this is the center, so it's x minus h, so it's x plus 1, minus a negative is plus, squared, plus y minus k squared equals r squared, and that's just going to be 20. Okay? So there we have it, the standard form of an equation of the circle. All right, let's do it again. So, same question. The point, in fact, let's not do it. I will let you do that on your own. Bring it into class and see how you did. Remembering that this is x1, y1, x2, y2. Go ahead, give that a try, and bring that into class tomorrow. Okay? All right, let's move on and go on. And what we're going to do now is we're going to actually take a step backwards before we move forwards. Remembering last year, or maybe this is an Algebra 1 skill, maybe. No, Algebra 2 skill actually. We're going to remind ourselves how we complete the square. So this is not a circle equation up here. This is just completing the square, reminding ourselves. So let's go through the steps. First of all, we put all the terms, x terms on the left, put all the numbers on the right. Let's do that. So I'm going to add the number, so it's on the right. I'm going to add the x terms so that they are on the left. So doing that, now I have x squared minus 6x equals, I add the 2 to this side, and now I have this equals 3. All right, so I've switched the terms all around. These cancel, this cancels, I've moved everything around. Okay, now what do? I find C, all right? I don't have a C. I have A is 1, B is -6, and I don't have a C. Okay, I've moved all the numbers to the right, so I have no C. I need a C. So what is C going to be? C is, let's go up here to do a little scratch work up here. C equals the B -6 divided by 2 squared. So let's take -b/2, -3, square it. And that is 9. Okay? So what I do is I am going to add 9 here. And if I want to add it to the left, I must add it to the right. We're still doing algebra. Okay, and then I can have a binomial on the left, which is what I want, x, and I'm going to plus b/2, and the b/2 term is negative, so I'm going to actually write it as a -3 squared. Okay, equals, and then I just add these, whatever's left on the right, so that becomes 12. And this, I have completed the square, and I could actually solve that by taking the square root of both sides. If you remember this correctly, I could, that's how I would solve that, okay? So if I was going to solve it, I would take the square root of this side, the square root of this side, and I would get x minus 3 equals the square root of 12, and then I would add 3 to both sides, and I would get x equals positive or negative square root of 12 plus 3, and that would be my answer. Okay, that's how we did those problems. I really want to just get to this point right here for today. Now, one thing I want to just point out one time, okay, is let's remind ourselves that this works every time. If I have x minus 3 times x minus 3, does it really equal x squared minus 6 plus 9? It sure does. First, outer, inner, last. X times x is x squared. X times -3 is -3x. -3 times -3 times x is -3x. I add those together and get -6x. Last term, -3 times -3 is positive 9. So when I FOIL these back together, I am right back where I started from. Okay? So this works, remember, completing the square every time. I'm not going to do this portion again. I just want to show you that this works every time. If you take the b term, divide it by 2, and square it, it works every time. Let's do it again. Okay, so we have, what do? We put all the x terms on the left, numbers on the right. Well, the x terms are on the left. All we have to do is move the number to the right. Move the numbers to the right. X squared minus 4x is on the left. Numbers are to the right. Okay? Now I have to find a c. What is my c? Well, c equals the b term, negative 4, divided by 2, right? Then we're going to square that. That becomes negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2 squared. Okay? That is going to equal, what's negative 2 squared? That is 4. So I'm going to add 4 to this side and add 4 to this side. It's algebra, they're balanced. Now, this is going to be x, what is it? It's the b over 2. That becomes my term for my binomial, minus 2 squared equals 12 plus 4 is 16. And that is my completing the square problem. Okay? All right, now why are we doing this? Because we need it when we are rewriting our circle problems in standard form. Okay? So here's what we do with that. Let's move this up. We're going to use this to write circles in standard form. Here's what we do. Group x terms and y terms together. So here's how we do that. X squared, and we take our next x term. We're going to leave some space. Then we're going to put y terms. Y squared minus 6y. And we've got our x terms and our y terms together. We want to move all of the numbers over to the right. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to subtract 18 from both sides. So just move that 18 over. Okay? All right. Now it says factor out greatest common factors if necessary. If this was a 2x squared plus 10, I could factor it out at this point. Okay? I don't have to factor out anything, so we'll get into that tomorrow. Okay, we already moved out all the numbers to the right. That was the 18. We moved that over. Now we're going to complete the square for both variables. Okay, we're going to do exactly what we did above. So we need to find the c term for the x's. How do we find that? C equals 10 divided by 2, the b term divided by 2, squared equals 5 squared equals 25. Okay, so I am going to add 25. If I add it to the left, I add it to the right. Okay, let's write the binomial that's resulting. X, what is my b over 2? Well, that was 5 plus 5 squared. Now, let's do the next one. What is the next c? C equals the b term, negative 6 over 2 squared, equals b over 2, negative 3 squared, equals, negative 3 squared is positive 9. So, and this number is of course always going to be positive because it's always squared. Positive 9, if I add it to the left, I must add it to the right. So what does that leave me with for a binomial? Y minus 3, that was my b over 2 squared, equals, add all these together, negative 18 plus 25 gives me positive 7 plus 9 is 16. And what do I have here? The standard form for a circle. And what is my center? Well, it's h, which is negative 5, and k, which is 3, and a radius of the square root of 16, which is 4. Okay? All right. Well, what I would like you to do at this point is practice. So I want you to do the exact same things for problems 2 and 3 and bring it into class tomorrow. Okay? So group the x, y, and y terms together. You don't have to factor GCFs. There's no greatest common factors for these. So then move all the numbers to the right and complete the square and determine the center and the radius for both of those problems. Okay? Alrighty. See you tomorrow.